Hey y'all, what's going on? I'm Eddie, and this is the Model Train People podcast. Model Train People is a Discord based group of people who find joy in playing with trains. So if you stumbled across this podcast, we're a bunch of train nerds, obviously, and we're here to talk about trains while at the same time growing a community dedicated to making model railroading a more inclusive space for all those who call it home. If you two count yourselves among the mass of miniature rail fans, if you're dipping your toes in the hobby, or if you just want white noise for the background of whatever task you're currently doing at home, we're happy to have you. After the episode, find us on social media by searching for Model Train People on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and join the conversation at our Discord by clicking the link in the description of this video or at the embedded link in all our social media. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like, subscribe, and bell icons on YouTube and hit follow and give us a like and share everywhere else. Email us at modeltrainpeople@gmail.com with any questions or comments you want to throw our way. And with that, here's our first episode.
Welcome to the Model Train People podcast.
So what are you drinking again?
Oh God, the recording's in progress. I can't say anything incriminating.
No, I mean you can, but I mean it violates all deniability on that part, and I don't think anybody is
cut it out
aware
in
in
post.
this
We'll
group.
cut it out in post.
So, okay, y'all. So, for those of you who have found us by the algorithm, so it means you probably like trains, or you're one of our nascent followers for the last 6 months that we've had social media. But welcome to the Model Train People podcast. Man, I guess there's going to be a introduction of who we are. It's late. This is late for me. I got a kid, so I'm usually asleep by this point anyway. So, all right. So, guys, welcome. How's it going?
Doing good.
Going pretty well this evening.
That's good. Dennis, Matt, did you get any of this snow, or is it all like upstate New York that got freaking crushed and everything off of the lakes in Indiana?
We've got a nice rainy and wet.
Had about an inch of snow on Friday, and that's all gone now.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yes, just rain here.
Yeah.
Nick, did you all get crushed?
Back and forth.
Yeah, did you all get crushed by any of that?
I'm sorry.
Did you guys get any of the snow?
Oh man, very, very, very little.
Mm.
It was maybe a half inch one day, and then it all melted, and then turned into a muddy mess out here.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So we got rain here, and I think everyone's still waiting for the state to catch on fire. And I think I saw a flurry.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I saw a flurry at work, and I was just like, all right, first snow of the season. And then
There it is.
So okay, so yeah, we're a disparate group. Basically, for those of you all that are tuning into this, we're the moderators of what is a Discord server, kind of a open, what we'll call a big tent, inclusive organization that's trying to, I don't know, grow a little bit of a community when it comes to model railroading. Kind of what we're going to do now, because this is essentially the pilot of this, and we'll see, depending on how all this goes. Realistically, next time we're bored, when we sit down and do this in 2 to 3 weeks, it'll be another episode, because there's definitely things happening in the model train world, model railroading world, between now, the end of the year, and the beginning of next year, with Springfield looming on the horizon for everybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
I think an opportunity to get some content and talk about the greatest hobby known to man.
Yes, sir.
But so what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick, or not so quick, around the room of who everybody is, and just kind of going through. Hi, what's going on? I'm Eddie. You have Dennis. Dennis has his own railroad that he's got pictures of as his background. You got Matt and Nick, and who isn't with us tonight is our two other moderators, Tay, and Ray. but I know they'll be hopefully joining us at some point. I know Tay, we need to use her video editing skills just because I know mine is going to get maxed out with doing this for a little bit. But hey, you know what? We do what we can. But with that, Dennis, tell us a little about yourself, man. Where you from?
Yeah,
What do you
sure.
do?
So, hi everyone. I'm Dennis. I'm an N scaler. I'm from Dutchess County, New York, the Poughkeepsie area. Um, I've been in the hobby for just over 13 years now. I got my first N scale set for my 10th birthday, and it's come a long way since then.
Cool.
That was a little Bachmann train set, and it started me on my journey to now I've got a 1 foot by 6 foot switching layout, and I've got my own fictional railroad, the Balfour and Colucci Creek Southern, which I've really enjoyed working on and coming up.
Finish you there. You guys there? Of course, this is gonna freeze. Hey, are you guys there? Can you hear me? What the heck just happened? All right, I guess okay, we're back. So from some technical difficulties, much like the Penn Central iron that
Yeah, there you go. I
Dennis
jinxed us
is
by bringing up
freelance
the mating
railroad
worms.
uses.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the ICC mandated the BNCCS to run the New Haven and into the 1980s now, which is when I model 75 to 85. The two railroads merged in 83 officially, and they're, railroads in New England are on the up between my railroad and Conrail. So that's kind of what I model. And I model that era because I personally love to do weathering. And that's
Yeah,
kind of
dude.
my most favorite part of the hobby is weathering, and then as far as running trains go, operations.
Yeah, dude, your weathering jobs are phenomenal. And just like looking at like not to toot your horn too much, but like, dude, that looks looks great. Like
Thank
that
you.
beautiful RS1 there in those colors. Do you have it like so for the individual locomotives that you're getting, do you have a like lore for where like which where what roads they're coming from? Because I know you have a lot of prior New York Central, prior Penn Central kind of stuff that's sitting up there, but like do you for each one of those do you know where they're coming from? Have you gotten that deep?
As as far as locomotives go, um, right now with what I've got painted, basically everything is purchased by my railroad. But I'm planning on some future purchases being some Alco like RS11s, RS18s and stuff, and those will
Okay.
be ex Conrail units because in the early 80s, late 70s, Conrail did a purge of all their Alcos, which means cheap power for my railroad. So
Yeah,
I'll be
absolutely.
doing some patch outs and some ex Conrail stuff. But most of what I want to model is going to be um like explicit purchases by the BNCCS, which
Right.
means relatively small runs of locomotives, 5 numbers, 6 numbers per locomotive type.
Fair enough, man.
Now, by purchases, are you talking like new power or power from other roads?
New power, yeah. So, they purchased a couple. I've got like for the RS1, for example, they purchased 2 RS1s and then they purchased 5 RS2s after that. And then after that, they purchased. I think I had 5 PAPBs and 5 FAFBs. And then they purchased an extra 5 FAs to run ABA lash ups. And then they moved on to what did I have after that? I think after that was RS11s and Jeep 9s, and then after that would have been Jeep 40s, SD 40s, a handful of each of those, and then uh, from there are excuse me blah, 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 dash sevens, 4 or 5 dash sevens, and then 4 or 5 brand new dash eights.
Brand new.
Well, technically, they're actually pre-production models, basically, because in real
Ooh,
life,
wow!
the dash
You're a launch customer, man. That's
the
awesome.
the B40-8 came out in 1987, and my cutoff date is 1985. But I really like the standard cab dash 8, so my railroad's got some.
Is it wrong of me that every time I think of like the '80s and just kind of or late '70s, early '80s, which I know, you know, true engineers and like people in the craft are like incredibly professional. I know that's like, just putting that out there, but just like, I wonder if you sat in there, if you'd be able to pass like a drug test after like in the cab of one of those, just the amount of cocaine that was or was not being done in some of those engines at that time.
We can neither confirm nor deny.
Hey,
Do not look
absolutely
into the
not. The
Chase
NTSB
Maryland crash.
NTSB is listening. Like, no, absolutely not.
Do not look into the Chase Maryland crash.
Yeah. Dope. Well, cool, man. I like your dude. I know you just had a birthday, so happy birthday. You're what? You're
Thank
23
you.
now, 24?
23, real young.
Nice. There you go. So you already have merch for the railroad. That is awesome.
Well, my girlfriend had this made for me for Valentine's Day last year, which was very sweet of her.
Nice. I know you don't have it shown up right here, but that that poster she got for you for this last one is really
Mhm.
cool. And that like just that scene, it reminds me like so I did a staff ride to West Point. Oh man, when was it? Was it this fall? Anyway, within the last year, um, and like whatever, like going up the Hudson, I know like there's that rail line, or it just like it's right on the bank of the west bank of the Hudson. I think it's the west bank of the Hudson, and you're just like you can just kind of like you're just looking over and like you just see whatever the local commuter is just kind of going back and forth, and it's like that looked like right out of like with the with the mountains on either side. There's the train, and it's like, dude, that's your
Yeah.
railroad right there.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, that poster was a poster for the New York Central that she took, which is of like that exact area, that kind of southern end of the Hudson Valley, West Point and south of Newburgh, that whole area.
yeah,
And then she photoshopped the Poughkeepsie Bridge in there, so it's like Highland. And then she photoshopped my colors onto some the passenger cars that were in there, and it's great.
dude, she sounds like a gym man, and that's
Oh,
some
for
skill.
sure.
Cool. Well, Dennis, thank you for
Yep.
introducing yourself and what you're doing in the hobby. And now we're gonna go switch over to Nick. Nick, brother, what's going on, man?
Oh man, I wasn't ready for this.
Nobody ever is.
But yeah, my name's Nick Raymer, Raymer last name. All over the place in real life and in the hobby. I'm a member of Centrac in Indiana. I model an N scale modular T-track right now. I don't think I plan on doing anything more because I just don't have the space in my real life to have the railroad I want. But it is what it is. We all have to do with what we can with what we have.
Mhm.
Um, N scale's been great. I model the Monon in Indiana. Well, technically that's where they only were. They ran from Chicago to Illinois and Michigan City and Indianapolis, crossing in the town of Monon, Indiana. I grew up in Westfield, Indiana, which was pretty much just a little whistle stop on the Monon, but they had a cool interchange with a little other railroad in Indiana called Central Indiana.
Hmm.
Plan on modeling that sometime, but life is life, and we can get to the hobby when we can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I enjoy the painting aspect, just like Mr. Dennis over here. He hit me up a long time ago about how to do things, and then I just watched this guy just run off with it, and I was like, well, the apprentice has become the master.
Yes,
Dude,
So
sir.
I enjoy
Um,
sitting around and painting and having fun, and I was invited to come on over to this group and hang out and be a moderator. I just got plenty of free time to access, you know, the Discord. So if something needs done, I'll do
absolutely. We wave the banhammer.
it.
Dude, you're speaking of, I did not realize that Dennis came to you for advice because like your
Oh yeah.
couple what are your because you have a couple of your Monons that like they're BLIs that you redid like they're Mikados, right? Am I
Yeah.
remembering that correctly?
Yeah. Yeah, they're 282 USRA J2s. They all started as undecorated. They just came from BLI with their factory undecorated paint job. I don't really know how else to say
Factory
it.
black.
Factory
Yeah.
black, yeah. Just like Vanderbilt, you can have it in any color as
Mhm.
long as it's black. Um, so just sat there and ordered some decals off a K4 Supply, and my first one was actually not a BLI. It was a old Atlas from the
Okay.
60s. I had bought it when I was getting back into this last year or so, and I just saw it was cheap on eBay and painted it. Spent about 6 hours painting it, and then it wouldn't run anymore.
Oh,
Hold
geez.
up, hold up. Is that the one that's sitting in the junkyard module?
No, 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 no. That was another. That was my old 280 from Bachman,
Okay.
Mm.
and
Appropriate.
it ran perfectly until I put it up. I bought that engine in 2012,
All right, I had some work
and
to do.
I played with it and had my fun with it. And I had a little 060 switcher with same time I bought it. Both those models have gone to the junkyard.
Dude, you gotta show that
The
like at some point when we're doing one of these, like that module is like one of the first ones that frankly I saw where it's like, okay, cool, this is more than just like people doing like campy scenes with T-Track because like my initial exposure to T-Track on like a quick Google search, like there was some cool stuff like but it's just like, oh, what the hell? What is this? But then seeing that, it's like, okay, dope. Like you can do that, and then your transfer facility for like was it war supplies and then lumber, right? You have that lumber yard.
I have a lumber yard and a coal yard.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
And yeah, I have war supplies, but they're on a couple flat cars. But I haven't finished those flat cars yet. I still need to work on them. Thanks for reminding me.
You're welcome. I'm here for you.
But yeah, Sidtrack and the Module Club, pretty fun. We go around all over Indiana, Ohio, Illinois. I want to say they go up to Train Fest too in Milwaukee. I don't know if the club brings modules for that, but I know a lot of the guys go to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
It's a really nifty club. I hit them up and got joined into that because I was like, oh, you can take your model trains anywhere kind of thing. This is kind of cool.
yeah.
And the space saving, since I live in a maybe 1,000 square foot apartment, and we don't have a lot of space.
Oh man.
But
That drive to Milwaukee from you is what, 6 hours?
give or take, yeah, I live in South Bend, Indiana.
So yeah, that's not too bad.
Okay. For anyone who doesn't know the size of a T-Track module, this is a T-Track module compared to my face. So
That is
Banana
a
for
nice
scale.
single.
We'll use face for scale.
Ace for scale.
Dennis for scale.
Dennis for scale, yeah. Dennis, what scale? What if we had to model your face? Like, what are the? Can we get
Oh,
the dimensions for that?
Oh yeah,
For
yeah. Hold on. Where's my tape measure?
hold on. Let's see. Because mine are up in the closet. My junkyard is not up here. It's in the back of my car.
Oh, there it is.
And there's a
Dennis just opened
double.
Pandora's box.
And that's the little lumber yard.
Hold on, show it again. Is it? Dennis, I don't want to see your face. Hold on. I gotta switch to
Oh,
see if I gotta figure out if it's like Nick talk.
I probably I probably have the blur on or something.
No,
Yeah,
no, no. There you are. There you are. Okay,
you can,
dope,
yeah,
dope,
you
dope.
can
There.
pin him, Eddie. If you right click on his face, you can pin him.
True. Hold on.
This
Ah, freaking
this
devil
darn
magic.
thing.
Look at that. Okay, all right, Nick. Let's see it again.
Oh,
I got you.
yeah. This thing is huge.
It's a double. Is that a triple or a double?
That is a double.
Roughly 2 feet by 1 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Klondikes, as they all are, more or less anymore.
Oh, exactly.
There's this free
It's all.
advertising. For the record, we are not
We're not
endorsed
sponsored by
by
Klondike.
Mr. Klondike, but we'll definitely show off his stuff because, well,
The
Probably
man
the
just
best
loves
we
to
like
promote the
kids.
what he
hobby.
puts down.
I do enjoy what products he has. I have two doubles and a single. And shout out to Klondike because I bought two doubles and he sent me the single for free.
Yeah,
Oh, he's using
like
the
I said,
single for free. Wow.
the man
Okay.
just
Yeah.
loves to promote the hobby. We were ordering a bunch of kits from him. My club, one of my clubs up here, was ordering a bunch of kits from him for a competition we were running, and for every 10 kits we would order, he would just add two extras for free. Like he just loves promoting the hobby. So
Yeah.
great guy.
Yeah. He was on the server for a little bit, but yeah, I've when I think we were trying to do trainathon, like we just kept missing each other. I'd be at
Mhm.
work or something, and
Mhm.
he or no, I think I was still on baby leave during that, but just for whatever reason, just missed that phone call. But yeah, he seems like a good dude.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I talked to him about his modules for a while and then I bought some, showed him, and he was like, "Oh, dude, great, great, great." And then I was like, "Hey, you want to come to our Discord?"
yeah, we're have to kick him back another invite at some point. But
But that's about all from me. Like I said, I'm just a freaking module railroader and enjoy my time doing that.
oh yeah, man. All right. So that's Nick out of the way. Leaves us with our resident masshole, Matt. How's it going? Tell us about
Yes,
yourself.
sir.
All right, so I'm Matt. I come from northern Massachusetts. I live in Middlesex County, just south of the New Hampshire border. I got involved with the hobby. Well, I've had an on and off thing with trains since I was a little kid. I mean, I have heard from reputable sources that my first words were choo choo. So I grew up watching,
In his blood.
Thomas the Tank Engine. Like I knew Ringo Starr as as these
Mhm.
as the host of Shining Time Station before I knew of him as a Beatle, for
Well,
example.
hold up. He was actually on Shining Time State. Like I knew he was the first season.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that until I was like 18 or 19 and trying
yeah.
to do like
So
Ringo
or
Starr.
just a drunk rewatch. But all right, we'll call it 21 for legal
For
sake.
legal purposes.
But hold up, he was like the lead for Shining Time Station.
yeah, he was
Mhm.
the original one, and then I
Wow.
think it was George Carlin after him.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Talk about two people you wouldn't expect to be on a kids show, but
Yeah.
go figure.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after so yeah, I grew up loving trains. My dad and we'd always like watch the trains go by. Like when growing up, we to get into our condominium complex, we actually had the line that goes up to Manchester, New Hampshire, and cross over for the entrance to our condominium complex. And there's a big coal power plant up on the Concord River up by Manchester, and I always remember we'd always be excited to get stuck behind the coal train, unlike probably everyone else in the condominium complex, because it was like, and we'd count the cars and see how many cars there were.
Yeah.
And we'd always talked about building a layout, but we just never got around to doing it. And then, I grew up, life happened, and I kind of just fell away from the hobby. And then last year at about this time, I just was struck by the idea of, well, why don't I get back into model trains again? And so I started figuring out ideas for building a layout. My buddy and I built some bench work. I started acquiring stuff. And originally, I was going to do West Virginia. I love coal mining railroads. Um, that's late steam, early diesel transition era of the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my original plan was to do a coal hauling railroad set in the early 1950s in West Virginia, and I still have a lot of ideas in my head for this layout. I might build that railroad someday, but before, after college, I actually lived in Japan for 2 years. I was teaching English over there, and well, if talk about a country that's great to rail fan in. I spent so much time just whenever I travel, I take my camera with me and I take photos of trains because trains are everywhere in Japan. They're
Yeah.
so ingrained in the culture. It's amazing. Um, it's a great country to be a rail fan. And so, and I noticed that you could get a lot of good Japanese train stuff for not a lot of money. So I acquired some more modern Japanese stuff. I'm slowly acquiring a collection of trains that I've ridden in Japan. I've got three sets so far of the trains I've ridden. I've got the local train that I just take all over the place. I've got the limited express train I would take to get into Tokyo from where I lived, and then I actually also have an overnight sleeper train that I took from Tokyo down to Shikoku, which is the fourth forgotten island of Japan, I call it. A lot of people refer to it as such because everyone forgets about Shikoku. They know about Hokkaido and Kyushu, but nobody remembers Shikoku. Um, and so I've got, and then, so I actually decided to switch doing my layout over to that I'm building in my basement over to Japan, Royal Japan in the late 60s. Because again, I wanted to keep with the steam themes, transition era, have some
Mm-hmm.
diesels. Um, so I've got a diesel multiple unit train for it, but I've got a lot of steam locomotives. And so right now I'm torn between if I'm going to make the setting Central Japan or Hokkaido, but either way, it's not going to change the fundamentals of how the layout works. It's going to be um and this gets into another thing that I really like about the hobby, which is track planning and operations and really looking at track plans and how to how to build a track plan that looks realistic and functions realistically while taking into consideration the fact that we don't have the same space ability that our real railroad has. We have to do a lot of, we have to really do a lot of selective compression. You can't build a one for one yard footprint usually unless you're extraordinarily lucky with your space. And so, how do you selectively compress things, and what do you omit and include?
Right.
The other thing in the hobby I'm involved in is T-Track, like Dennis and Nick. I'm very involved with T-Track. I'm a member of Northeast T-Track. I have two double modules that I've built. They don't look anywhere near as nice as Dennis's or Nick's. They're pretty much just a plain box top with a little bit of grass. I've seen it. I wouldn't even call it grass. It's like green fuzz, basically.
I mean,
The
in
little
scale, I mean, that's
sprinkle
pretty much
woodland
grass
scenic
anyway,
sprinkly
right?
stuff. But it's a paper mill module. So it's designed with operations in mind. So it's actually got like, I set it up so there's tracks that go to the pulp mill, that go to the boiler for the making of the pulp. I've got tracks that go into the factory area itself for the box cars. I've got locations mapped out for tank cars that would carry and hoppers that would carry the chemicals involved in paper making. So really did a lot of research and trying to figure out like what's involved with running a paper mill. And so that's I guess the long version of like what I'm interested in the hobby and what I do.
For sure, man. And I know what yesterday or well, shoot, today, like I think You were posting pictures of your like the first time that you're actually running ops on your physical your permanent layout, which is super exciting. I mean, like you've been posting the different track plans and like looking for input for at least shoot 3 4 months, and now to
Oh
actually
yeah.
see it like come to life and kind of like part of your vision of what you're trying to do, like it's pretty awesome, man. I like I'll be honest, like Japanese railroading is an incredible gray area for me. But it is neat to see kind of what you have set up, especially for the time period immediately post, kind of post-war Japan and that build up. Personally, I think you need to go with Hokkaido or if anything northern Honshu because I like kind of like the snow and stuff. And if you could find a way to model those massive snowbanks that they're famous for, that would be really cool. But no, man, I think I'm awesome to it's awesome to be part of that journey with you and see this come to life.
Yeah, so yeah, this week was actually a huge milestone for the layout. My friend and I, we finally got the last Tuesday we got the switchboard all soldered up. Well, most soldered up enough that it's I have block control on the main line and the yard area. Turntables all wired up and everything can be independently blocked. I'm still I've only have one throttle wired into it at the moment, so that's the next step. I actually have a big shipment on the way of a bunch of turnouts and another power pack, so that's super exciting. And the goal is hopefully, by the time the new year rolls around, I'm hoping to have the staging yard and the branch line all laid out and all of the blocks wired, so that way I really just have to do the scenicking,
Yeah.
which I think will go a lot faster. Well, I'm hoping. And then buying build and then buying buildings. It's like luckily I've noticed that they sell a lot of like 1/150th paper building kits that are like
Mhm.
10-15 bucks a piece. So
Wow.
that's a lot cheaper than like a lot of the attraction with the Japanese stuff. I mean, aside there's a few things. One, the cost is a lot less. For whatever
Yeah.
reason, the Japanese stuff, the Japanese domestic model train stuff is much more reasonably priced. Like, I mean, my locomotives, I mean, I've gotten a lot of my stuff secondhand, admittedly, through Yahoo Japan auctions, but my locomotives have run me between like 60 to $90.
That's
I
not
mean,
bad at
they're
all.
DCs
Like,
only, but
but
still,
still for DCC only, like that's, I mean, sure secondhand, but I mean, like you're getting
yeah,
a lot of Kato Atomic stuff, and
yeah,
it's quality.
yeah, and
Um,
it's pretty amazing too, the stuff you can find. Like if you know somebody who knows how to look, I'm lucky. There's a guy on our server who's been helping me in finding stuff. And like,
that David,
no, it's not.
who is doing that? Anyway,
Uh, yeah. But basically we found a bunch of like these beautifully weathered cars. There are like 10 of them in this set. And like they look like they were professionally weathered. And he found them and we got them for like 35 bucks.
Nice.
And they are like the best looking weathering I've ever seen.
tennis.
It's like they look like the real thing. It's amazing. And the other thing too that I liked about going to model Japan during the late steam era, is that trains are shorter in Japan. You know, even compared to like 50s and 60s US. I mean, you're looking at an average train length of like 40 cars. Whereas in Japan, it's not unusual to see 10 to 20 car trains. So it's like I can model much closer to prototypical length trains in a small space,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which is something I like as well. And then
Yeah.
also just because in this era in Japan, um, Japanese railroads are Cape gauge, which is 3 feet 6 inches. Um, so although their loading gauge is probably not any smaller than say like the English loading gauge, the
Mhm.
British one. Like the width of and height of their trains, they feel like standard gauge trains. not as monstrous as US ones, but certainly by
Yeah.
European standards, they won't be considered small. But but in this area, you still have a lot of two axle freight cars in service, and you know, um, so the freight cars I have are only like 60 millimeters long, a lot of them.
It's not bad.
So, I can build a train of with a decent number of cars in a very short space.
And then you're
Yep.
like 90% prototypical on that too, which is nice versus the rest of like versus me and Dennis here modeling. And shoot, I don't know. Shoot, Nick, I don't know what the 30s or 40s for those train lengths look like, but like, I mean, Dennis is probably a little closer to prototypical than I am, just because of what was the John Oliver talking about. There's no like there's they've eliminated the limit on train length of the modern era, which is led to like East Palestine and
Mhm.
insert one of the big fours and their derailment issues.
Oh God.
It's always
Yeah.
fun.
I mean, I guess it depends on because if I'm at my layout here, which is I'm not on camera because it's over there,
Yeah.
but that layout can handle a maximum of five, like 6 car trains because
Hmm.
it's built for local switching. If I'm at
Yeah.
my club, I have enough cars to run 60 car trains, which
Touche.
that's about prototypical for the 70s and 80s. Maybe a
Yeah.
little bit on the short side, but pretty close. But that's only because my club layout is like 15 by 20 feet.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like Dennis, I'm also a member, or I'm in the process of joining a model railroad club as well. And that's a great way to get involved in the hobby too.
Sure.
I think something that people forget with this hobby is they think they need to have this huge basement to build a layout or to get involved with the hobby. And I'd like in a be and I guess one of the things I like to do as a T-track person
Hmm.
is and as somebody who's working on joining a club is really promoting the to people that you don't need to have make a major upfront investment of money or space to get started in this hobby.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
can build a T-track module. You can buy like, a start small train set. You can look to join a club.
I was
There
gonna say
are the hobby is more accessible than people realize, I think.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean that's all. We'll
for
put a pin
sure.
in this and we'll get back to it. We'll get to this here in a little bit, but
I say we
wholeheartedly
need to
agree.
introduce Eddie first.
Oh
Well, I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
right.
mean, geez, God, what the heck? No, but just to caveat and before we jump a little bit there, but yeah, no, it's because everybody thinks of the basement empire when they think model trains, and I did for years, and there was one point I remember sitting there, had it been like 9 or 10 years ago, like God, why would I ever want a massive basement of trains and it's just me? What happens when I die? No, it was because we were like buying a house and like somebody like massive HO layout that was was in the basement of this house. It basically like comes with the house and it's like, oh great, now I gotta rip that out. Don't want to do anything with
Hmm.
it. HO sucks for one, but that's neither here for anybody who models HO. I'm joking. I love my friends who do HO. But
This is a disclaimer. HO skill is fine as long as you're running trains, you're good.
yes. Um,
It's funny you mentioned that. The layout I operate a lot. There's two layouts I operate a lot on, and one of them um, uh, is Bruce Robinson's Valley Junction Railroad up in New Hampshire, and he was actually talking to about the other night about like how if he purposely didn't like attach the layout to the walls or like so that if he when he dies and needs to come down, you can just take a sawzall to it and rip it out and throw it in the dumpster.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, my hat's off to the man for being aware of what eventually will happen. But I'm unfamiliar with it. Yeah, I think you've sent pictures before. Was that the one you were sending pictures of that yard?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, it
and
looks
that's
pretty.
oh, yeah, it's a very operations orientated railroad, and like going back to the social aspect, like that's another thing that I've really enjoyed about the hobby is like the social aspect, and I think that helps keep me motivated too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, is just being able. I joined the MMRA. Your mileage may vary about joining it, but at least up here in Massachusetts, Southern New Hampshire, I've been able to meet a lot of people who I can run trains with, and you know, do things with socially in that are train related. So like, there's two layouts operate on regularly, and the only reason why I get to operate on them is because I've gotten involved socially with it. Like I would have never been able to had I not realized that.
Yeah. That's and that's the one thing that has drawn me kind of more in the last year, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah. And never mind that I have a, Jeep 30 HO CNO that's sitting in a cart that I just need to hit buy on so I can actually like go hang out and, try to see some, again,
You
from
know,
that social aspect.
I've got an RS3 in New Haven paint. We all gotta do something in HO because that's what
Absolutely.
most of the world
Absolutely.
is.
I mean, I mean, HO is king.
N scale
And
forever.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean we're all N scalers
Yes.
obviously, but I uh,
Yeah.
and actually I was just thinking about like one of the other reasons why I decided to model Japan in is because I in the 60s too
Hmm.
was because I was like, if I am going to build a layout in my basement, I want to do something I'm not going to see somewhere else on someone else's layout.
Mhm.
Like, I bet
Absolutely.
I'm like
Yeah.
pretty much the only person in the Eastern United States who's modeling, or maybe not the only person, but probably like a
You're one
handful,
of a few.
one of a very few people who's like seriously building a model railroad that's set in rural Japan in the 1960s.
If you
Mhm.
happen to be listening and are a modeler of uh, rural Japan in the 1960s, please send us an email with pictures at modeltrainpeople@gmail.com. We'd love to see it and prove Matt that he is not the only of his kind.
You are not alone.
Yeah. Well, cool. So moving on to from Matt for a minute. Hi everybody. So I'm Eddie. Eddie Benningfield. I live in South New Jersey. On the we'll call it northeast part of the Philadelphia metro area. Not originally from here. I'm active duty Air Force. Been in for about 12 and a half years. I'm currently stationed out at McGuire Air Force Base out in,
There it goes.
I don't know if you call it Central Jersey, if Central Jersey exists. That's a whole conversation that's going on right now. But no, I do not pronounce
My
water
bad.
water. Um, but
I do, however, pronounce coffee as coffee.
well, I mean, you are from part of where you're from, right? So I'm a second or third generation military bred. I can't do the math, but the long and the short of it is, um, born in Montana, moved around, graduated from the University of Texas at San Antonio, and then I've been to 19 different countries in my career. Have taken part in some incredible, or been a customer of some really great mass transit in Korea and Europe. Um, and really, man, we could do a lot. And I like be outside of Brightline, just killing people left and right down in Florida. It's not. I'm not going to say that we didn't choose to live here where we currently live to be close to the river line, but I'm not saying that we didn't. Not we did not make that decision because it's nice having public transit and living in an area after living somewhere that doesn't have it. Granted, does it get me to my job? No, absolutely not, because everything runs north south here because of the Northeast corridor. But that'd be kind of cool. I've taken the train a couple times just to get into the city and stuff. But I mean that's neither here nor there. So my kind of what I model is I'm a N scaler. I have this little 2x4 layout that is sitting behind me. Can you guys see it?
Hmm.
Okay, dope.
Yep.
Um, N scale layout that's sitting behind me, and then I have a couple T-track modules that I'm working on collectively. It is modern day CSX, based off of the Logan secondary in Logan, West Virginia, where my family, at least part of my family, is originally from, and where I spent a lot of my going home, quote unquote. When my dad was active duty, we'd go back to West Virginia, where my mom's family's from. Um, and so, kind of collectively, everything that I'm doing is what I affectionately call the Giandot secondary, which is more kind of there is some co-ops in the grander design of it, and if you can kind of see what's on the back right now is there's a chassis that's kind of running around, a B-37 that I just got, and I love that thing. Atlas like really did a good job with the color, and then the sound I think is probably the best. Like this, whatever this next generation of Atlas locomotives that's come in, they're sounding amazing. Even from some stuff that I purchased last year or to present day, like it's there's something that just made a jump. I'm not sure if it's the quality of their speaker that's sitting in there, um, or what, but I know Dennis, you've purchased some stuff recently from Atlas with sound, and then I'm sure
My
you can attest to it
my
too. That it,
Conrail B40s, same deal, and I mean, it's great. It's a Moog Sound V5 decoder with a pretty nice speaker in there, and it just mwah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it
I
definitely
also have
adds.
an at
Go for it.
Oh, I also have an at yeah, a pretty recent run Atlas GP42W. That is also the issue lock sound. Yeah, I have to agree, it's great. Yeah, I'm really impressed by the quality of the modern Atlas diesels.
No,
Like,
for
I
sure.
love my yeah, it's a Guilford locomotive, and it's one of the best running engines I have, except for one thing. It
Hmm.
is a great way to find out if your T-track modules are not aligned properly because the fuel tank will catch on any rail
Yep.
that is
Yep.
slightly off in height in the
Yeah.
transition.
It's only
So,
it's code 90. Don't worry, it's fine. Um, anyways, yeah, so that's kind of modern era. Although I'm like two or three purchases away from just going straight chassis and also in being late 80s, early 90s, but just have a problem with YN2. I think it's just an ugly paint scheme. I really like YN3 for CSX, and then I know it's just basically a Seaboard's respray with CSX painted on it, but I really do like some of the cell stuff. Although I don't think I'm going to throw money on the Jeep 30 Slug that Scale
Scale
Trains is getting
trains.
ready to release. Although I
uh,
think the Jeep 30 is probably my favorite right now, probably my favorite locomotive.
so I do have one of those on pre-order.
I know you do. We talked about
Yeah,
it a little
yeah,
bit.
we have talked about that.
Yeah, but if they did, because I've seen it in per, I've seen a couple of them. Like there's a couple Jeep 30 Slugs in YN3 that are sitting in Huntington, West Virginia, in their
Mm,
storage. And yeah, absolutely, I would throw money at that and I mean
yeah,
and throw that on the layout. But
I was
um,
surprised that they didn't offer it in YN3 as well as the stealth scheme.
I think I don't know. I'm I think you have to spread it out a little bit. I'm sure just because of I guess I don't know if you would call it necessarily a transition from chassis system and seaboard system that you're gonna kind of hit that era, but like maybe it's just overlooked. Like you have to really look around. I think to. I mean, when was the last? I'm curious to see when the last to look up some of the numbers that I got, like the last time they were actually used in active service and not just in long
Mm,
term storage. Yeah, they have the paint, but are they actively being used? And I think I intuition again, intuition is as good as intuition is. They're probably not. So probably the last time that it was used primarily in services probably in the late or 80s and early 90s, which is why they've probably elected to do that. Same thing with like here, here's my quick 30-second gripe about a lot of chessy stuff that's sitting out right now is all B&O, at least at the in scale level, and there's not a lot of CNO or Western Maryland. For
Mm,
whatever reason, B&O, I mean, B&O is cool. B&O has the history, but I would, as someone who models Southern West Virginia, with familial ties to that area, I'd really appreciate to see, never mind that B&O had like a presence in Huntington too, but whatever. It is. I I like what I like,
mm.
and we're there with that. But kind of my experience with getting into the hobby, kind of like the rest of you guys, I'm sure, kind of exposure to it as a kid. 4 years old, I got a I forget. I was thinking about it this morning. It was like I think it was Tyco. I think Tyco had a couple train sets kind of running
Mhm.
around like in the early 90s. And I got one. It was like a Santa Fe with like some Burlington Northern rolling stock and a couple other things. It was a figure eight, and I ran the hell out of that in HO scale. Um, and then my parents got me another train set, probably about 9 years old with CSX power. It was an Atlas train set. I've been trying to like look it up on on eBay or whatever I can find it again. I just haven't been able to. Really, really liked Southern Pacific. Southern Pacific was probably my first love for model railroading or just kind of railroading in general, and that comes from watching National Geographic's For the Love of Trains, which I didn't realize it until rewatching it like a couple months ago that it was like from the 70s.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, yeah, no. So like I was like, because I was like, it's like, well, what was it? What was it? The big thing that I wanted, my parents tried to get for me was like the Salad Bowl Express, and like looking
Mm.
up and like what some of those like what those road numbers are. It's like, okay, these are SD35s. This is what this is, and it's like, oh, dope. That's kind of cool. Like, all right, this makes sense for like and then kind of correlating it to like Atlas. I think they've a big run of SD35s and heavily featured SP stuff. Living in San Antonio for the majority of my late childhood and for all of my teenage years. Every once in a while would see some repatched Union Pacific, but still with Southern Pacific on the side, just because that was such a they obviously a massive presence in South Texas. My first exposure to N scale was it was in South Park Mall in San Antonio, and there was like this massive. I know it's South Park Mall has been since torn down, but I think it was in track is what they is layout. They're just running. It was just nothing but SB that was sitting in there, and like I kind of got that bug because I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. My dad and kind of like when my dad was like, hey, we got to build something, and so you got the I got the Atlas, with the Hobby Lobby, got the Atlas track book or whatever, and just like trying to figure out what's the one with the most track
Mhm.
that I could do. And I remember he had built me a 3x5, just piece of plywood, and then we ordered off wherever, just a bunch of SB stuff. And then kind of as it goes when you're, 12, 13 years old and there's, you know, starting to do football. I think Halo came out at the same time, and that all quickly went to the wayside, and probably to my dad's relief because he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be the one doing all this stuff anyway." So that disappeared. Uh, I had a couple failures to launch back in the like every once in a while I would like start getting on YouTube or whatever, and there was like one video that I would watch and I ended up getting stricken because of some copyrights over some of the music that was on it, but just like CSX Coltrane, little 2x4. There was like a Jeep 40 with a couple it was just a couple hoppers and just going around in circle sets like some bluegrass or whatever. It was just like just so relaxing to kind of watch. But at the time in my life, the person I was with, I probably would not have been incredibly supportive of me venturing into model railroading just because of the stigma at times that model railroading is the realm of the weird. Which yeah, I'm pretty weird. We'll kind of go with that, but that ended up just being a B&O Jeep 40 that lived on my on a bookcase and now lives in my office. also on a Klondike's module, a little tiny one, a little micro module. So again, another shout out to Klondike's there. But yeah, I just kind of took a back seat to life in my 20s, and then I when I moved back to Texas after being overseas for a couple of years, my mom ended up giving me all like a lot of that stuff, and it was in my apartment. And right before I went on a deployment in 2020, my now wife and I were kind of like clearing out this closet and like all this train stuff sitting there. And I just like looked at it, and she just looked at it, and she's like, "What do you want to do with this?" And I just kind of looked at her. I was like, without thinking, I was like, "Dump it." So we took it out to the dumpster. We threw it all away. Like had to have been like $300, $400 worth of trains at the time. I was like, "Yeah, I'm never doing
Oh,
this. This is oh yeah, oh yeah."
Pain.
oh
All probably
God.
like late transition era stuff, like looking back at it, with
Oh,
a Jeep 40 that was sitting on the top of it for power. And yeah, just took it out to the dumpster with a bunch of other stuff that I was getting rid of. I was like, yeah, I'm never gonna touch this. This is stupid, like I'm an adult,
oh.
uh, ironic. So fast forward to this time last year, I ended up getting my appendix out, and I was on leave for 2 weeks, just trying to kind of recover from post surgery. And like, Mary, my wife, was pregnant with my son Henry, and we're setting up our Christmas tree and stuff, and it's just like that festive of like, oh, cool, like what we're talking about, what traditions are we gonna bring in the house, And she kind of looks, she's like, do we get a train in front of the tree? And I kind of looked at her. I was like, "Yeah, I kind of do. Let me like." I kind of looked at her. I was like, "Let me research this and let me do this on my own." And she's like, "Yeah." She's thinking like, go to the store and like buy like your like you know Costco or Walmart Christmas tree train set. But
Hmm.
no, I
Battery power to last you 1 year max.
Oh
you
man.
can milk that for longer. I've done it.
Good show.
And I ended up going down to I literally have it sitting over here like a little Bachman starter, and bought a B&O SD7 in N scale and brought it home and set it up under the tree, and then like watched it circle around for about a day. Dogs were freaking out at it. I got a great video of our little Shih Tzu just like following it around and just like screaming at it, but that's neither here nor there. And I looked at my wife and I was like, I'm gonna throw some money at this. She's like, okay, cool. And
Nice.
uh
Not realizing what she had just opened the door to.
no, but here's the thing, right? Like um I've bounced between like music. In fact, I'm kind of like downsizing from music production stuff. I've got a little bit of my setup, but like oil painting, from a creative perspective, and different things. And this is the one thing that I've stuck to that has brought me like a level of peace. And I think it lets you turn off, like, especially like in as somebody who does music, and I don't know, like not seriously, right? So like, but it's like I like with the advent of AI and anywhere in the realm of any type of content production, like AI is at some level the driver. Like, I mean, our our logo, from Ray was the one who programmed this in, and it is literally like, I think it's ChatGPT who developed
Huh.
our logo. So
Yep.
like,
Yep.
I mean, if you're developing or creating, like, there's a level of authenticity there. It's like, well, what am I doing this for? Like, with the noise of the world, like, just pulling off of anything political or anything like that, and sitting down in the basement, or I think we're gonna turn this room up here into a craft room, just because. Yeah, well, we're in the process of doing a lot of downsizing and building space, not partially so I can throw in a 8x8 T-track like Empire downstairs, but that's neither here nor there. But it's just that's like, okay, cool. This is peaceful. This is like, you can't fake this. And that's
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
where I kind of got back into it. And now a year back into my baptism back into the hobby. Yeah, we're going strong. I've got four modules that are still wrapped in cellophane that are gonna keep me busy for like the next like couple months when I have time from when I can squeeze it in when the baby's not awake. But yeah, I think that's my story there. So okay, cool. So kind of moving on here and in a transition. Um, that is kind of our setup here and who makes up the kind of the brain trust, if you will, from the model train people, save for Tay, who's also from uh, Southern California. And she currently lives out in Indianapolis, and then Ray, who calls the Bay Area home. We're spread out, and we're international. We got a surprisingly a nice little uh, exclave, if you will, of some Dutch speakers who live in the Discord. So that's kind of cool. But cool. So why model train people, and where did this kind of gin up? So kind of in that I developed this and I kind of started kind of coming into this hobby. Um, Probably in the February time frame. Started looking at different groups and stuff. Started listening to A Modeler's Life, which started kind of getting me kind of thinking about like, hey, if I join the NMRA, what can I do? I ended up joining. And again, I think the three, me, Matt, Dennis, Nick, are you in the NMRA?
Sorry, I'm sitting here running trains, but
Ooh.
no, I am not in the NMRA. I don't conform to any standards like that.
Yeah. So
Oh, and I
I
lost
joined it.
Caboose.
Yeah. I joined it purely for the like try to get involved, and 2 months after I joined, basically, just kind of crickets. And I was like, all right, cool. So started trying to look around. A significantly older groups around me. And I just took it to Reddit, asked around if there were people from the South Jersey area. I got Dennis, and then Rich. Rich is a guy up in I think he's in Brooklyn. He does a lot. He is a huge, just goes to different train shows and swap meets. That's his big thing. Uh, and then Dennis Kiviat lives across the river from me. In what I guess we call it Northeast PA, or he may be in Trenton. I forget
That
where
area.
exactly where he lives, but here or there, and they just kind of just started growing this group out, starting shooting invites to people, and it started to take on a I guess kind of a critical mass. Where now kind of with some of the different things, Tay has done a lot from getting it set up from like a search engine optimization kind of piece where people are actually finding us, and where it's kind of growing on its own. We've already gone through kind of one like reshuffle, but um, the intent of it was to, develop a group of at least originally, local area for me, which is South Jersey and the Neck. And I know Dennis, you're kind of you're in. I mean, Dennis, you, me, and Matt are all kind of in the Neck, if you will. We're within a 4 or 5 hour drive of each other if we needed to do
Mhm.
anything. And I know we tried and
Mm.
the first one, but
Well,
Didn't quite
we'll
work
life
make it
out.
happens,
work.
and
I
now
mean,
we're
we're all good.
yeah, and now we're gonna try it again, and it's gonna probably be like we'll see how it goes here in at least a soft launch in 2 weeks, and then
Yeah.
in 3 weeks, kind of doing another one.
And
Just an imp
then we'll have at least three of us will be at Springfield.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just again developing those out because I think. I mean, you guys listen to like I know Dennis, you at least listen to AML a little bit, but they just had um man, I'm totally blanking on the guy's name, and I had it in the show notes, and it disappeared on me. But there's definitely an intimidation factor when it comes to the NMR, and I know Dennis, you work a lot with Lucy and kind of the things that she's doing, and I still agree that I don't know. I gotta scratch my head sometimes. I don't know if it's worth the $69 just because I from just like it's like what am I paying for friends? And that even goes for like joining different clubs and stuff. I know there's like an opportunity to work on like to work on different people's layouts and stuff. And I know Nick, you're in like the three of you guys are involved in different organizations, and with Matt even being the, what I would call the premier T-track organization in the country, just kind of based off of where they are. Um, but it at times can be kind of I don't know if it's interior. All right, there we go. Derek Maganata, he's a guy down in Birmingham. He's about 33 years old, kind of going on about some of the challenges he sees with like just the generation gap that exists between like your millennial and Zoomers versus your aging baby boomers and the silent generation for those who are kind of still hanging around. And I know it's been something that the AML has touched on over and over is trying to grab the NMRA and drag it into the future and drag it into present day.
Hmm.
But the NMRA isn't the hobby, and the hobby isn't the NMRA. And if an organization is if you have to fight for why the organization exists, and I don't want this to turn too much into a diatribe of the challenges with the NMRA or whatever, but like I don't know, man, like I think standards of conformances are great. You know, Andy Zimmerman and what that team does is really great for the value of the hobby, but for supporting the NMRA for the sake of the NMRA. I mean, yes, I am a card carrying party member, but like I like the idea of trying to organically develop and go out to people because there is a, at least in my mind, there is a stigma that I have seen even when I got into the hobby and told my dad, like, yeah, I'm building, this is what I'm doing. And he kind of looked at me, he's like, you're playing with trains? And it's like, yeah, I mean, if you put it that way,
I mean,
sure, yeah, I
yeah,
guess. But he's like,
sure.
well, what about Henry? Like, are you gonna tell him not to touch your stuff? And it's like, no, like if he wants to play with this stuff too, like I'm not gonna, gatekeep him from this. Like, yeah, do I have, $250 models that are sitting on there? Yes. If does it break? Is it probably gonna break? You know what? I'm gonna have a kid. I have a kid. I have a four. He's gonna be, curious, and if that happens, well, it's material, and I guess I get to learn how to fix models, which will only
You
help
learn
me
how to do
grow in the
some of the
hobby.
modeling.
Yeah.
Exactly. But more often not, the hobby ends up being stereotyped into kids, old men, or the
Neurodiverse.
neurodiverse.
You
Thank
have the
you.
neurodiverse,
Yeah,
divergent,
yes,
neurodivergent. That's the word.
neurodiverse. Which I mean, we've all seen the Instagram. Like, what color, what flavor autism do you have? And I think like it was great. Like the
This
dude's
one.
rail fanning. He's out in New Mexico, and there's a BNSF. Like it's gorgeous, just scrubland, and it's just going across. And he's like having a great time. But like I think it would be awesome if you like I think everybody has a good experience like from their childhood with be it Thomas, be it the childhood train set that they got kind of growing up, and that's something that I think if we could tap into and kind of show like some of the different locations that we're going instead of setting up at a library or doing something at a train convention, like finding people who are kind of more in our age group. Like there's a place in Philly that we're gonna go set up at basically it's a tabletop gaming and like board gaming spot that doubles as a bar and a restaurant, and we're gonna set up a table and kind of hang out there and kind of do some stuff and see if like, hey, by osmosis people come over, ask questions of like, oh, what's this, oh, kind of because T-Track allows you to move around, which is the allure of it, as Nick is setting up his stuff and kind of showing it off. Like that's a 2 foot, 2 foot of fun. Like, hang out and do that. And then, when we eventually, in 3 weeks here, kind of go hang out in New Hope, where you're in the brewery that's literally next
New Hope and Island.
yeah, to the commemorative railroad that's sitting there, and people are going to be up there doing that, and we're going to have some of our stuff set up. Granted, I mean, we need to make some phone calls so we can make sure that we're good to do that. I'm pretty sure we are, but logistics be what logistics is. Um, and I think you can if you make it look more approachable instead of this stuffy rivet counting hobby, that perfection is everything, and if you're not perfect, you shouldn't be doing it, which bothers me so bad because, like Matt, you were kind of going on at the beginning, and kind of Nick too. Like, look, if you're playing with trains or you're building stuff, like what determines like your at what level do you become a model railroader, right? At what level do you be considered a part of the hobby? And be it a basement layout or a loop of track, and you just like to collect. Like it's all part of it, right? And I think that's one of the
Yeah.
really the kind of one of the things that I would like to see kind of this organization, this group. And I don't necessarily know if I would be that over, I don't know what the word is, haughty to say that call it an organization and say it, but if I'm sure it has some designs to it, but like again, of we live in a world with technology and how interconnected everybody is that I'm talking to people who live across, the Atlantic Ocean who are into model railroading, who are 3 or 4 states over, in both directions. And the democratization, the anarchy of the hobby, if you will. I think anarchy is probably a much more appropriate term, that doesn't necessarily need to be boxed into what the what your region is doing, or what the NMRA at large is prescribing out or pushing out. And granted, I don't think it never necessarily ever has been completely that, but yeah, I think if we're at the forefront of this, and when people like, we can show people what the big tent looks like and be as inclusive as possible to bring new people in and develop that community and that camaraderie. Like, I think that's ultimately a net positive, and that's how the hobby itself continues on versus any type of outreach. What
I
do you
gotta
guys think?
say, I hate ballast because it is now inside my trucks on my H15.
Oh no.
Yeah, I
Sorry
ballasted my
to.
tracks on my T-track module, and I had some issue with that too.
Oh no,
But
I've
yeah, I
completely
agree
I've
with.
completely nuked a turnout from ballasting, but that's neither here nor there. We'll
I
get to
came
that later.
close when I built my module on
Oh,
that doing that.
all of my turnouts are smoked because of my poor track skills.
Yeah, there's a video
But
somewhere that talks about, I think it's the Allegheny and N scale or whatever. I forget what it is, but he talks
Mm.
about they sell like these plastic things for specifically for Kato Unitrack, for like you can like put them in like before you start ballasting, and it kind of avoids
It'll
the.
keep the points in the frog clean and stuff.
oh wow, that's
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, I gotta find that video and send it to you guys, but I think that's where I heard it. I probably heard it somewhere else, but between
Yeah.
him and DIY and digital, but I am pretty sure it was the guy sitting in Pittsburgh, but anyway, neither here nor there.
Yeah, I find it. Yeah, I agree with the democratization of the hobby. I mean, that's something that's drawn me to the server and kept me involved with it. And yeah, and I've always, yeah, or not always, but since I've got involved with the hobby, yeah, I really tried to promote to people the idea that there's many different ways that you can get involved in it. And it's interesting because when you start getting involved, I've actually seen a get it noticed that there are a lot of younger people in the hobby. Like the stereotypes aside, I mean, the club I go to, there's a lot of high schoolers. There's a few guys who are in their 20s. I mean, there's more older guys,
Yeah.
but there's still plenty of young people. And I think, yeah, it's finding ways to like keep them involved and like giving them a space, I think is very important.
Yeah. I 100% agree. The stereotype that's out there, and the phrase you hear tossed around all the time is that the hobby is dying. And that there are no young people in the hobby, and I don't think that's true. To quote Ray Arnott from Around the Layout podcast, the layout is not dying, it's evolving. All of us
Yes.
young people, we don't tend to nearly as much, get traditional print magazines. We don't tend to go to train shows and chat at booths. We tend to post our modeling online, to Facebook groups, Discord servers, stuff like this. So having a server like we have um, gives people this space to do that and also build the community that is in those traditional, more traditional model railroad clubs, more traditional, things like NMRA meets and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And there are certainly young people that go to NMRA. I mean, like I said, I'm 23 and I'm all in the NMRA. I'm working my way towards the achievement program, and I go to most of NMRA, any NMRA meeting that I can go to for my local division and stuff like that. But having this group of younger people in the space that we're traditionally used to sharing our hobby in, and in the traditional ways that we're used to sharing our hobby in as younger people, is just a wonderful place.
Yeah. Yeah, that evolution. I mean, when I was growing up, the ways you access the hobby, where you go, I remember we go to the Greenberg show twice a year when it came around, and then, reading Model Railroader or Model Railroad Craftsman.
Mhm.
Those were the traditional outlets. But yeah, I mean, print media is dying, let's be honest. And again, it's also that's the paywall, and but we don't need that to get involved with the hobby, and that's
Yeah.
what I love about having a server like this is we can share things with each other more organically and on our own terms. We get to control things more this way.
Break for just 30 seconds. Speaking of print media going out, I'm sure you've heard like the rumors and theories of dead internet.
Oh
Oh,
God.
yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm really glad we have like the two factor on the Discord, so we know that nobody is AI outside of the chat bots.
Yeah.
Oh my God. One of the other servers I'm on, we have like 80 iterations of the same person.
Oh Jesus, the Matrix is taking over.
It's like every week, every couple days, it's like this person has joined the server, and I'm like,
Again?
oh my Lord, it's ridiculous.
Weren't you just here?
The internet is both the best thing and the most evil thing ever.
It was the best of things. It was the
It
worst of
was the worst of
things.
things.
No, I tell you what, this ballast is the worst of things.
Yeah, dude. All right,
I am still picking this crap out of this damn gearbox. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm actually
I,
surprised I haven't been cussing more. I really am watching the kids gonna like both Mary and I like we're sitting there and it's just like, man, we really gotta like there's gonna become a point where we
We
need
gotta
to
figure
watch
something
what we're
out here.
saying because this kid's gonna start dropping four-letter words and we're gonna be like, dude, you can't say that.
That's a great way to put it, dropping four-letter words. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And our favorite
yeah.
one starts with F and it rhymes with fire
Mm.
truck. But anyway, Matt, what are you saying?
I think I was just talking about, um, how the nice thing about having a server like ours is that we get to control we have control and input over the content that goes on and the conversations we're having instead of it being a more top down um like
Organic.
with the hobby magazines. Well, I hope you're interested in these articles that we have
Yeah.
this month, or whatever the workshop for the local NMRA is. I mean, we are more organic, and we give people, we have
It's
that
it's a
ability to just chat whenever we want about something that we wanted to talk about. Like, so today, me posting all those photos about my ops
Yeah.
and random track plans that I'm modular track plans that I may or may not ever wind up getting to build.
it's a discussion. It's not an article or a clinic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
It's
it's a
more
conversation.
interactive and this it's more like a forum than it is an article, which
Well, even
is really helpful for building that community.
yeah. I mean, if you've been in a Discord before, like, shoot,
Yeah.
I've been in a couple. I've run a couple D&D, at least one D&D campaign off of a Discord server. Like, it's just a continuous conversation. Like, and
Yeah.
I know, like, it, everybody that's on there, we're posting stuff. Shoot, I know, I'm sure you guys get sick and tired of me posting like the minuscule, like, here's my update for the day, because literally it is like, that is my check in with myself, not necessarily for you guys, but for me of like, okay, I had 15 minutes today. I was able to do this. It's moving forward. I'm doing this. I can
Mhm.
go back and look. And I'm like,
Well, I mean, I've always been like, oh God, people must be getting sick and tired of Matt posting all of these modular track plans that he's probably never
Here's
gonna
Matt's
build.
17th modular track pan of the day.
Exactly.
yeah.
I mean, I literally just
This
made one
guy.
today.
But it's
Leave
cool
it in
getting the
there.
feedback and stuff, especially with
Yes.
that or the layout lore, which like I'll be real, like when you guys like set that up and I was like, okay, cool. Like, why do you need lore for your layout for your like railroad? And then kind of like like reading it and then like Dennis watching us, I was like, okay, cool. Okay, this makes sense. I understand why you need the backstory for this
Yeah. I
to
mean, and I think it goes back to why model railroading in general. And I mean, the tagline that they've always put out there is it's the world's greatest hobby. And I fully agree with it because there's something for everyone in this hobby. If
yeah.
you like puzzles and games, operations is basically a cooperative game that you're playing with a bunch of people. If you really like if you really like building miniatures and models, there's that. If you like creating scenes, you can do that.
If
If you
you like
like world
wiring and
build,
electricity, if you
yeah,
like bench work and woodworking, if you like, there's something for everyone.
Do you
yeah,
want a
or
40K
the
train?
world building too, going back to the lore thing. If you do freelancing or proto lancing and you want to like design your own railroad,
Yeah.
doing that, or if you really like researching too, and you want to like go down that rabbit hole of like, well, I want to model the B&M main line between Ashburnham and Bellows Falls on July 14th, 1954. You can do that too.
Yeah. The iceberg is deep.
Vast.
It is.
The iceberg is how much money are you willing to spend on making that crate?
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
And shoot, Nick, you were
Yo,
talking about your 500 miles of, track and end scale.
it's only 33 feet.
I can't believe it's only 33 feet. Like look, I only did 3 hours of history. Sorry, I only did 3 hours of math in college. I barely paid attention in high school. So like,
I
sure.
feel it. I also was never good at math, and I have come into numbers as I've gotten older.
It's awful.
Yeah, I'm not a great math person either. It's why I'm not an engineer.
Yeah.
Mood.
That was the
Meanwhile,
first.
the
Well,
architect in the group is sitting there
Hey,
and
legally, I'm not an architect yet. I don't have my license.
you have the
I have
degree.
to say that so I
You
don't
don't
get
have
sued.
fair,
Hold
fair.
on, hold on, hold on. Legally.
You're closer, and at least you have a tech degree where
I
the
I have a bachelor's of architecture. We'll leave it at
yeah,
that.
fair.
But
There
to be
you
fair with
go.
that as well, half of that degree was also just making pretty pictures. So
spending a lot of time building models, right?
yes, lots of
Hey,
models.
wait a minute.
It's all
Interesting.
coming together. It's all coming
I
together,
remember
Kinky.
my college had a big architecture program, and I remember my friends in the architecture program. It seemed like all they did was sit in the architecture lab building little card
Mhm.
stock models of houses.
Well, at RPI, the architecture building was called the Green Building, and the joke on campus was that it was the Green Lantern because the lights never turned off.
That checks. I didn't realize Norge
Yeah,
had an
no, I also
architecture
remember
program.
that they were all like I'd walk past it like if I was out walking at like 11 at night for some reason, I could see lights on in the architecture lab.
Jesus.
It's
Yeah.
so.
No
I'll,
thanks.
I'll take my 40-page papers.
Yeah.
Joke's on y'all. I didn't go to college.
Yeah, you were the smart. You were the smart
The
one.
smart one there.
Yes.
Shoot, I don't know. Not very
You don't have
smart.
student loan debt, so there's that.
I
Yeah.
have plenty of other stupid debt though.
Yeah. Well.
That's a tentative to my or attributed to my other hobby.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Nick, Nick does a lot of World War II reenacting. They've got some Wehrmacht stuff that is, I don't know how it survived the war.
Oh
I don't know.
no, 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 my friend.
No,
It's not original. It's
it's
one-to-one
reconstruction.
reproduction that we made from scratch.
Really, what I'd love was, I think I'm sure you guys would love too, is like you got to find like the commemorative Air Force, because like there's a couple P-51s that are sitting around.
Yes.
Like if you guys could get like on film of like you guys getting on like the receiving end of like of a strafing run.
I've been on the receiving end of a simulated B-25 strafing run.
Ooh.
That's scary because that dude had what, like 6 or 10 50s that were running on his craft. And so you're just sitting there, and you're just seeing this big old bomber just come smack down at you, and all you see is muzzle flash, muzzle flash, muzzle flash, muzzle flash. And I'm like, I'm dead. This armored car is now full of holes.
This cheese car. Very
Yeah.
Yes. But
Are we the baddies?
it's a great hobby. Yes, I am the baddies, believe it or not. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, I don't know.
Yeah. But
But it's a great hobby. It's just like this one, everybody talks about the dying hobby and the age difference and the not young people getting into it. It's all the same when it comes to that hobby too.
yeah.
A lot of the older guys are getting out. A lot of the younger guys are getting in. Some of the younger guys that are in that are a little too extreme for my taste, but so were some of the old heads.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think look, I like my grandpa hobby. I enjoy it. I think we all do. And we're here to continue it on. But
I mean, as I sit here dismantling an Atlas model, I mean, to clean out ballast, I mean, can't say I'm not enjoying my hobby. Well, I'm enjoying it, just not in a good way.
yeah. I love
And I
it's
still
like
keep finding pieces in there.
yeah, it's like I love you, but right now,
I really don't. I wanted to run this H-15 on the thing so I could show it off, but
yeah.
I
You
guess
can
tonight's not the night.
No. All right. Well, we are now 90 minutes into a 30-minute conversation. As it
Hey, that's
happens.
great. That means we're having fun.
We're having a
Yeah,
blast.
Well, if you are still
Listen,
with
that's-
us listening, we commend you for putting up with us for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
God
300% podcast for all y'all out there. It's
Exactly.
surplus.
There's
Where
more
is that?
content. So when you're, it's like I'm sitting there and it's just like, God, who am I going to listen to? And I'm like mindlessly doing anything. I already listened to the AML, and then I found my own layout. It's like, okay, cool. So what's the next one? All right, everybody's caught up. We're DIY and
Now you
digital
can
that
listen to
does like
us.
9-minute things, and now you got us now. So
There we are.
there you go. Okay, cool. So
Well, let's see if I got this one running now.
you got it. Is it working?
Maybe. Nope.
You kind of got it.
Oh,
It's still
There's
it's
some
still got
movement.
it's still got some
Uh,
ballast stuck in that back one.
Mm,
that's
Grinding the
frustrating.
gears.
yeah. Anyways,
Man, I really like that model too.
yeah, it's pretty. I think didn't you have a B&O shell that you were gonna send me or something?
Yes, I did, and it's still in the spare stuff box.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember
One
you
of these days,
posted about
Eddie.
your quest to get that thing assembled.
Yeah, I got it, and then
Looks
it
pretty.
finally. There's another one there.
Nice.
Yeah, I was thinking about it and I realized I think pretty much we all knew each other by names on
We
Reddit
knew each other
before
by
we
Reddit usenames. The three
Yes,
of
we knew
us.
each other
Matt,
by
Nick,
Reddit
and I.
usernames
just-
before we
And then
came
I
to
just
the
showed
server.
up.
Because like I remember
And
watching
Eddie was like,
Dennis
"You guys want to hang out?"
yeah, Dennison doing stuff on Reddit. And I
Yeah.
was making posts about track plans and stuff
Yep.
because that's what I do.
All right. So cool.
And
So
you
just
gave us
kind
a
of,
home, Eddie.
I'm good at some things. I'm bad
You'll
at
either
others. And I
shortly
just wanted
regret it.
friends, and here we go. Someone's got to be the extrovert, I guess.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Cool. So kind of in
Wish I had this one
closing,
DCC'd.
say again.
I said I wish I had this one DCC. That's my last one I got done with.
Yeah.
Ah, Looks
That's
so good
pretty.
now.
Is that the Bachman?
This is another Bachman, yeah.
Yeah.
Spectrum 280.
It's not the Bachman. The Bachman is how do I switch my camera here? There we are. The Bachman's right there.
It is.
Nice.
There it is.
Yeah, I was sitting here just bebopping along, running in the background. I was trying not to make too much noise, but
Oh, make noise away, right? But okay, cool. So, for the channel, just for those of you listening, a couple things that we're going to be trying to do with this. When I say the channel, the YouTube, our social media, because we have a small at this point intermittent kind of presence between YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We've got a biannual trainathon charity event, which we did back in June, kind of on to support Dennis's little cousin. Trying to get her set up for a college fund, which we were able to raise about $1,000 before taxes for that. So super awesome that we were able to get different people set up for that. We're looking at doing it again. I know we were talking on the channel about or the Discord server about around the 21 December, but like I'm going to be real with you. I think that's a little too. I think probably closer to January, February timeframe being more realistic.
Sometime this winter. We'll leave it at that.
We'll do it and we'll make it happen. But that's something that we'll probably continuously do. There's finally doing some in-person stuff at least in the neck to. I think we'll probably, if this goes well, probably become a quarterly thing. So it just becomes a repeatable event. And really, it's better just to do something and at least get the ball rolling on that. It may not be perfect, but learn for next time. Kind of like this, like with failing internet and different things, and we're still rolling it. We're still here. We're still going to publish this. Um, and then we're gonna.
heck, like I said, I didn't even know what was going on. I just joined in because I saw the thing. And I was like, oh, what is
Oh,
the talk
hey,
to the
yeah.
guys?
Now
That'll
Nick
be
is
fun.
Nick's
Now I'm
now.
like,
Now you're
oh,
here.
it's a podcast. Oh,
Here we
oh.
go.
Welcome to the podcast factory.
Well, like everybody else and their mom, we're pushing out content. So I think on this channel, at least, this will be kind of every 2 to 3 weeks. And then some other stuff. I plan on doing updates on my kind of my development with T-Track and different things, and I'm sure we'll have some other things. But listen, if you're looking to join us, just search Model Train People between Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We'll put stuff in the show notes and on the description at the when this is done, at least for the YouTube cut of this, so you can find us. And then those all those except the TikTok have the link to our Discord, and we'd love to have you and continue to help build this out, and maybe we'll eventually meet up with each other. I think content wise, kind of coming forward, we'll probably do like a pre Springfield and a post Springfield. I think Dennis and Matt. I mean, that's in your backyard. Dennis, you'll go up there. I'll be up there for probably a night. Which Dennis, we got to talk. I may give you a module or two at some point between now and
Yeah.
then. So if you want to go set that stuff up for me, and then I can just kind of
Well,
show up
I'll-
Saturday morning. Baby's still a
Yeah.
little too young. I feel a little too guilty taking basically going away for 3-4 days, and
Understandable.
Mary and I were talking about it. Like he'll eventually get there, like where he's like a 3 or 4 year old and like
Mhm.
totally like engrossed for that stuff, and just like he's gonna love it. Hopefully, or he's at least gonna get drugged to it and be entertained. But
Fingers crossed.
yeah, if you want to shoot us an email, if you are listening to us and you're like, you know what, I sell product or something, you want to sponsor us. Granted, I don't know what we're gonna do with that money, but we'll definitely we'll
We'll
run
take
ads
your money
for you.
anyways.
We'll figure something out with it. Model train people at gmail.com is where you're gonna find us there. If you have questions or anything that you want to do, shoot us a message, DM us. Don't send us death threats. I mean, sure. I mean, I guess you
Please.
can, but that's
Do it.
tasteless.
I dare
That's
you.
not very demure, not very mindful. But we'd love
Good
to hear.
Lord.
But if you are interested in this and just want to ask us questions or whatever, shoot us a message. We're open to. I mean, obviously we like to talk. So,
In case you
Yeah.
couldn't tell. At this
90
Yeah.
minutes into a 30-minute show.
but
But yeah.
anyway, I'm gonna be really tired in the morning. My baby is about 2 hours from his usual wake up, so I think that's it,
I
y'all.
feel it,
So
dude. I got to go to
until
work in the morning.
yeah,
Ditto.
until next time, y'all.